appreciate the leadership shown to bring this document for reading today, but I do want to inquire of the chair and perhaps the gentleman who is the author of this effort today, Mr. Goodlatte. The language, as I understand it, that we will be reading today does not include some of the original language of the Constitution of the United States. On multiple occasions, amendments have purported to change some of the intent of the original document.
Does the gentleman have a parliamentary
inquiry? I do
inquiry?
have. My parliamentary inquiry is, will we be reading the entire original document without deletion, or will we be reading a document with deletions that may or may not have been accomplished by respective amendments?
Pursuant to Section 5A of House Resolution 5, the chair recognizes the gentleman from Virginia to read the Constitution of the United States.
And may I inquire of the gentleman, if I may inquire before we start this process, of the gentleman, if he would explain to us so that we will all be on the same page.
The gentleman is not recognized for that purpose.
If I may ask the gentleman, unanimous consent, if I may ask the gentleman to yield for this question. I ask unanimous consent to ask the gentleman to yield for a question.
The gentleman from Virginia is not recognized for debate. This is not a debate.
I'll wait till Mr. Goodlatte is recognized and I'll ask him to yield so we can have clarity of this.
The gentleman from Virginia is recognized for the reading of the Constitution, not for debate.
If I may ask unanimous consent to ask Mr. Goodlatte to yield for just a question so we all understand the reading.
Does the gentleman from Washington have a parliamentary inquiry?
Yes, my parliamentary inquiry is, may I ask the gentleman to yield for 30 seconds to ask a question of the derivation of this language that we will all be reading in good faith and good spirits today.
That is not in order at this point. Gentleman from Virginia.
Mr. Speaker, as a part of the opening remarks, I will explain and I hope answer the question of the gentleman from Washington. This morning, for the first time in the history of the House of Representatives, we will read aloud the full text of the Constitution of the United States. We hope this will inspire many more Americans to read the Constitution. The text we are reading today reflects the changes to the document made by the 27 amendments to it. Those portions superseded by amendment will not be read.
Mr. Goodlatte, could you explain to us the decision-making process about which language to read today? And the reason I ask is through our American history, we've had a series of amendments that were intended to change the original document. But the amendments do not make specific deletions to specific language in the original document. And it's been up to us to ascertain the intent of the amendments to figure out which really language is operative or not. But the language has not specifically been deleted by the amendments. So it could be subject to some interpretation of which language really has been removed and which has not. And so I think it would be helpful to the members if you explain to us how the determinations of what to read has been made or not made so that we all be on the same page as to congressional intent.
Well, I thank the gentleman for his question. We have consulted with the Congressional Research Service of the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress actually maintains a copy of the Constitution which includes those sections that have been superseded by amendment. So we are not reading those sections that have been superseded by amendment, and we have arrived at that determination based upon our consultation with the Congressional Research Service.
And would the gentleman accept the premise that since we have not been able to review the exact language we will be reading today, that this is not, thank you, gentlemen, but Mr. Goodlatte, I'll wait for a moment, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
House will be in order.
We do want to have a good bipartisan success here today, and this is a special moment for us all. So I guess the question is, I take it that since we've not had discussion about which language to read or not, that this is not intended to create any statement of congressional intent about the language, but rather to do our best to have a moment of comity to read the language as best as we can ascertain it. Is that correct?
I think the gentleman has stated that very well.
Thank you, and I very much appreciate your leadership in bringing this to our attention today. Thank you.
Out of the same deference and respect for this document, that we revere, I think it's important that we use the language of the Constitution itself. They are not deletions, they are amendments. And in that respect, we go by the amended document, not by the deleted document. There are too many that have fought and died for those amendments to call them deletions. With that, I yield back.
It is an amended document. We are going to read the document as amended.
There really is a difference between us. And we've been talking about how much we agree on different issues, but there really is a difference between us. And it's basically this. We don't think the government should be in control of all of this.